The Culling Game is a large-scale battle royale created by Kenjaku, the mastermind working behind the scenes. It forces both Jujutsu sorcerers and non-sorcerers to fight each other under strict rules. The game takes place across 10 barrier colonies spread throughout Japan, and players earn points by killing others. After the Shibuya incident, a curse was placed on every human in Japan. The goal of this was to force human evolution through cursed energy. Before the Culling Game began, Kenjaku used Mahito's curse technique, Idol Transfiguration, to mark two types of people. The first group consists of those who had already consumed cursed objects, like Yuji. The second group includes people who gained cursed techniques despite having the brain of a normal human, like Junpei. In addition to this, Kenjaku also broke the seals on cursed objects that had already been consumed by vessels. However, he wasn't able to turn everyone in Japan into a sorcerer using Idol Transfiguration simply because he didn't have enough cursed energy to do so. Kenjaku's true goal is to force the evolution of humanity by merging all humans with Tengen. If this happens, it would create beings far stronger than normal sorcerers. The Culling Game plays a key role in this plan. It uses the cursed energy produced by the participants along with the barriers where the battles take place to prepare humanity for the merger with Master Tengen. To make this ritual possible, Kenjaku placed several binding vows on himself. One of the most important is that he is not the game master. Because of this, killing Kenjaku alone won't end the Culling Game, making it much harder for the players to stop everything from happening. There are 8 rules that govern the Culling Game, and the first one sets the tone for everything that follows. Any player who awakens a cursed technique must declare their participation in a chosen colony within 19 days. This applies to everyone awakened by Kenjaku on the night of October 31st. That means people like Megumi's sister, who was unknowingly dragged into the chaos after waking from her coma due to exposure to cursed energy, are given a deadline. In her case, she has until November 9th to officially enter the game. No excuses, no mercy. The second rule is where things turn dark. Any player who fails to follow the first rule will have their curse technique removed. Now, this sounds vague, but the implication is terrifying. Removing a curse technique is essentially a death sentence. A sorcerer without cursed energy cannot survive. And that's the point. If there were no consequences, people would simply refuse to play. This rule exists to force participation through fear. However, there's one important exception. This rule only applies to Jujutsu sorcerers. Ordinary civilians are spared from technique removal since they don't possess one to begin with. That leads into the third rule. Any non-player who enters a colony immediately becomes a player and is considered to have declared participation. In other words, civilians trapped inside the barriers at the start of the Culling Game are given one chance to escape safely. But if they choose to stay or hesitate for too long, they become part of the game. And once that happens, they're no longer civilians, they're prey. At that point, they're nothing more than walking points for sorcerers hunting to survive. Rule 4 states that players earn points by killing other players. This works directly with Rule 3, since anyone inside a colony automatically becomes a participant. Because of this, sorcerers can gain points simply by killing other players they encounter. Rule 5 explains how points are calculated. The game master assigns point values based on a player's worth. Sorcerers are worth 5 points, while non-sorcerers are worth 1 point. Any cursed spirits participating in the game are also worth 5 points. The 6th rule states that players can spend 100 points to negotiate with the game master to add a new rule to the Culling Game. However, players cannot use points from their own life value, and they cannot change or remove any of the original 8 rules. Only new rules can be added. The 7th rule states that, in line with the previous rule, the game master must accept any newly proposed rule unless it would have a major and long-lasting effect on the Culling Game itself. The 8th and final rule is similar to the second one. It states that if a player's point total does not change for 19 days, they will be subject to curse technique removal. This rule exists to force players to keep fighting and earning points instead of hiding or avoiding conflict. Later on, additional rules are introduced by players who successfully negotiate with the game master. In the Culling Game, the main characters have two main goals, and they build their entire strategy around them. The first goal is to end the Culling Game altogether. To do this, they plan to free Gojo from the prison realm. However, in order to free him, they need to find a player known as Angel. She is a sorcerer from 1,000 years ago who possesses a cursed technique capable of extinguishing other cursed techniques. If they can use her power, they can open the back of the prison realm, which is currently in Tengen's possession, and free Gojo. The second goal is to find players who already have over 100 points and are not interested in adding new rules to the game. The group learns about two such individuals and plans to convince one of them to add a rule that would allow Megumi's sister to leave the Culling Game safely. And that's the foundation of the Culling Game, a brutal system designed not just to test strength, but to push humanity toward a path it may never recover from. Every rule, every fight, and every sacrifice brings Kenjaku's plan closer to completion. With Gojo still sealed and time running out, the real question isn't who will win, but who will survive long enough to change the outcome. I hope this breakdown of the Culling Game and its rules helped you understand it better. If you found it insightful and informative, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to comment on what topic you want explained next. It might be the focus of our next video. Thanks for watching.